Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Good Friday podcast. As going over the news of this past Holy Week, um, in conjunction with what's going on in the world. And plus, our Bible reading today is still going to be dice driven slash roll for initiative, but it's going to be Easter focused. So, be jumping in with the news with that. And I know it's a little later than normal, but I don't have to go to work for my local job today. And maybe not for Fridays at all in the general, but we'll see. Um, I do have a Good Friday service tonight with my church, so we'll be doing that. Um, but yeah, let's jump in on some news. But good morning, everybody, for y'all that join. I know I'm like 2 hours later than my normal time, but that's all good. I didn't even get to sleep extra, but it was just a later day. But it is what it is. I spent a good portion of the time just trying to find coffee, having to go out and buy coffee filters, and because the I can't even go buy coffee locally. But it's whatever. All right, jumping in with our news. The Masters was last week, and lots of exciting things for golf and the golf community. Rory doing big things. But then one of the things that got a lot of attention over the course of the last week was the fact that one of the photographers for the Masters was Ken Griffey Jr., who was a name that to me growing up was synonymous with baseball and is a uh legendary athlete, is now a very happy photographer and was doing photos for um the Masters this week, and so that was pretty neat. Um and you can see him in the trailer of it, which was has since premiered for the Fantastic Four. But Mark Gatiss, creator or co-creator of the BBC series Sherlock, and also a frequent actor and contributor to Doctor Who, um, is has also joined the cast of the Fantastic Four, The First Steps. So that was neat, and seeing him in the trailer was fun. Dave Portnoy, sorry, I bit my tongue earlier. Dave Portnoy, the owner of Barstool Sports slash the One Bite Everybody Knows the Rules pizza review dude, has stated that he has lost close to $20 million uh, over the course of the last little bit, because of the U.S. tariffs. And that he's looking like he's going to continue to lose more in this process. Also, we'll hit Dave Portnoy back up in the minute for some of the news, for some things. It's WrestleMania weekend, outside of being Easter weekend. So Sunday is WrestleMania 420 and Easter. So there's a lot going on Sunday. So yeah, with that. Uh, but WrestleMania is Sunday, and one of the things that is coming with WrestleMania is always the speculation because we know it's, choreographed acting and drama and all the fun storytelling, but still trying to figure out the stories ahead of time is still part of the fun of it. And one of the notes that was pointed out this past week is that John Cena has a lot of scheduled appearances coming up after Sunday, which leads most people to believe that he is going to take the belt. And Brent Barr mentioned to it, and yeah, exactly. I shared this earlier on the page, but it is also Superman Day. So happy Superman Day and Good Friday. And I'm just saying, in terms of correlations, it being Superman Day and Good Friday is pretty fresh. Bringing back the note too that when Zack Snyder released Batman versus Superman, um, he released it originally on Good Friday intentionally because he wanted to do the whole death of the savior situation. Um, Amanda says scheduled appearances. You won't be able to see him. Yes, that is accurate. You won't be able to see him. Um, but John Cena is scheduled for the Raw after Monday Night Raw, the SmackDown after the next SmackDown after Backlash on May 10th or May on SmackDown on May 9th, Backlash on May 10th, and so on. He's got almost 12 dates scheduled between now and August. Um, which when you're only counting Mondays and Fridays, that's a lot. And that's he's got more dates scheduled between now and August than Roman Reigns has participated in the last 2 years. So just chewing on that. Um, a pastor was taken hostage and held for ransom in South Africa. Josh Sullivan was being held for ransom, uh, but then he was rescued. But it also turned out into a shootout in the rescue process. Um, Several people did die in that process, but the pastor that was taken captive was brought back whole. So that's, a win with the sadnesses included. Um, there's a graphic novel. Can I reach it? Is it on my shelf? Can I reach it? It might be. It might be too far for me to reach. Um, let's see. Um, Either way, no, I can't see it. There's a graphic novel called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is the basis for the upcoming Supergirl movie. It's written by Tom King, and honestly, it's pretty darn good. It's been my phone lock screen for years. This one shot where she's flying and gets shot in the eye with a bullet and just goes flick. Um, but either way, McFarlane Toys. Good morning, Kelly. McFarlane Toys had to release a statement this week that a Walmart exclusive Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow action figure, which would have run for $25 to $29, um, all of them were stolen. All of them. Walmart released a statement informing DC fans that all of the McFarlane Toys Supergirl figures were stolen in transit. So somebody literally hijacked a truck of nothing but Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow action figures, which A is going to make them incredibly value, but meaning if you got one, you straight up got stolen goods. Um, but this is also the movie that's going to have Jason Momoa playing Lobo. Um, and yeah, it looked like a good figure. I don't know if I would have purchased it, but I would have appreciated it. But either way, all of the Supergirl figures were stolen. Not always one to celebrate divorces or anything like that. But Paris Green, good morning, sir. Um, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, has been divorced from Jeff Bezos for about 6 years now. In her settlement for her divorce, um, she got about 36. Is that the right letter? Holy cow. She got about $36 billion in her divorce settlement. It's ridiculous. $36 billion. How bad could a marriage to one person be that you get $36 billion in the settlement? But whatever. Okay, cool, good talk. But anyway, out of the $36 billion that Mackenzie Scott received in her divorce settlement, she has given away, literally made it rain. She has given away 19 billion of it to more than 2,000 organizations um, that are nonprofits and outreaches and things of that nature. So this woman has already given away 19 billion dollars to charities and organizations and things of that nature. She has a philanthropy policy of no strings attached giving. She says, "I won't wait, and I will keep at it until the safe is empty," she wrote. So she fully plans to give away all $36 billion of her divorce settlement money from Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. But $19 billion in 6 years, that's absolutely redonkulous to be able to give that out that fast. So, if you need help with some financials, you might want to try and get in touch with Mackenzie Scott because apparently she's got some plans. Um, Over the last few weeks, there was a unfortunate and ugly situation that transpired with a rumors being spread about a young college woman, um, and those rumors making it to mainstream media, with people like Dave Portnoy and Pat McAfee, um, commenting on it and somewhat furthering these rumors. And this young woman says that once, even though they weren't didn't mention her by name, that once they told her story, people figured out who it was, and they said they basically wrecked this woman's life. And she called people out specifically by name, like Portnoy and like McAfee and ESPN. Um, Pat McAfee officially released a statement today saying we will try and figure that out and make some sort of silver lining in a very terrible situation. You can have that promise from me. And I know that's not a huge consolation, but it's better than just getting snubbed in the process. And hopefully there'll be some silver lining and some redemption to the story. I know God can redeem literally any story, but this is a hard one on a PR level to come back from. But again, God can do anything. In terms of the tariffs that are being imposed between governments, it appears that electronics won't be included in this, which means that, Nintendo Switch pre-orders and things like that, cell phones and stuff, should be able to make a bounce back from this in terms of economy, which is good. The Blue Origin rocket went and came back. That happened. um, with lots of people, and people have a lot of opinions on it. But just letting you know, it didn't blow up. Um, and I'm gonna share a dark humor joke with you, just not as a joke, but just to let you know that I'm a sinner and my mind is not perfect. Because the whole time when the Blue Origin flight was gonna go down, I literally hoped and prayed that these ladies made it back safely for, numerous reasons. But one of the main reasons I did it was because if that rocket exploded, I knew somewhere out there in the world of TikTok, somebody was primed and ready to use Katy Perry's fireworks and make a video of it. And that it would be like the most viral thing in the world. So, um, I was like just really glad because that would have been a a negative situation for everybody. So glad everybody made it. Everybody's alive. Good talk. Um, uh, in terms of Broadway news, Leslie Odom Jr., the original Aaron Burr, sir, will be returning to Broadway as Aaron Burr, from September 9th to November 23rd, 2025. So if you would like to see Leslie Odom Jr. be Aaron Burr on Broadway, you've got a narrow window of 12 weeks to make it happen. Um, so again, September 9th through November 23rd, you can check that out. The box office this week was surprising again. Um, Minecraft pulled in another $80 million. But coming in number two at the box office was King of Kings, the animated movie of Jesus' life, starring Oscar Isaac and Mark Hamill and Anthony Hopkins, I believe. I don't know, somewhere in there. Definitely Mark Hamill and Oscar Isaac. Um, and number three was The Amateur with Ravi Malek. Um, but This makes twice in a 2 month window that a Jesus project made it into the top three of the box office. And two, this makes the highest grossing box office budget for an animated biblical feature. King of Kings officially outmade the opening for Prince of Egypt. Now, granted, Prince of Egypt was a million years ago, and DreamWorks was just getting started, and I never even saw Prince of Egypt, and I know I'm a horrible human for that. Um, I also haven't seen King of Kings, um, but I would watch either. It just hasn't happened. Um, but yes, things all happen, so that's cool. Also, Jack Black surprised a screening of Minecraft this week by walking in and telling people not to throw popcorn or do the chicken jockey. Yes. It was officially announced this week that Beetlejuice 3 is happening. Um, and I said that at the end of when the credits rolled on Beetlejuice 2, I said it would be a crime for them not to do a third Beetlejuice just because of how they named it. Not because I found it entertaining, because I could have lived without Beetlejuice 2. My world's not worse because of it, but I could have lived without it. Um, they called the sequel to Beetlejuice just Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And so if they didn't release a third one, it would have been a waste because the third one literally could and should be called Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Um, Parish Green says biblical movies have been refreshing. Yes, they have been. There has been a good slew of biblical movies, and the fact that The Chosen got three releases at the box office over the Easter season, and the King of Kings dropping, and plus the Amazon David series is doing well. It's a good time for biblical entertainment not to be terrible. Um, as we're moving with that. Um, Six of the main cast of Harry Potter's remake on HBO Max have officially been dropped. We've received our Dumbledore, McGonagall, Snake, Hagrid, Quirrell, and Filch. Um, the legendary actor John Lithgow will officially be taking up as Albus Dumbledore. Janet McTeer will be Minerva McGonagall. Papa Aseju will be Severus Snape. Nick Frost of Shaun of the Dead and Doctor Who and Into the Badlands and everything that's ever happened with Simon Pegg will be Hagrid. Uh, Paul Whitehouse, no, sorry, back that up. Luke Thallin will be Professor Quirrell, and Paul Whitehouse will be Filch. So, um, yeah. Lithgow and Frost, I'm very supportive of. I think those are wise choices. Um, but we'll see with everybody else too. Um, do, do, do. Mandy Moore will be returning to the role of Rapunzel to voice the prompts and interactions on the new floating lantern ride at Disney Paris. Um, Disneyland Paris announcements for it's called Rypont's Tangled Spin, but it's a ride based on the floating lantern scene from uh Tangled, where they sing "At Last I See the Light" and everything. So that's gonna be good. Glenn Powell launches a new food marin called Smash Kitchen. So the actor who's literally been killing it everywhere and doing all the things now has his own food line. SNL apparently crossed a line over the last weekend, mocking the physical appearance of a White Lotus actress. Amy Lou Wood, um, who is a main character in White Lotus season three, is a British woman with, as a physical feature, predominantly large teeth and more of a British stereotype. And SNL made a sketch about that, and it was apparently offensive. I haven't seen it. Um, but SNL officially did release an apology. And the actress who portrayed her sent her flowers. Um, Not that that fixes anything, but it is a nice mark. Will Smith dropped his first album in 20 years, and it apparently has not gone well. Um, Paris Green says SNL always pushes the envelope. They can push the envelope, and sometimes they can push it in really good ways. Um, but I think the thing with that is that wasn't even like creative humor. That was just let's mock somebody's physical appearance, and that's just easy. That's not like that's not even like an effort. That's just like, hey, we're gonna make fun of your teeth. Um, it's not smart. It's not creative. It's not witty. Um, Will Smith's album has apparently not been doing well. Um, and there's a lot of numbers that I see kind of broadcast across the board of how bad it's doing, but it's not doing great. And I don't think it's going to be encouraging for Will Smith's future career with that musically, but hopefully if he needs to continue, he will. Um, in King's College London, a medical breakthrough has happened for the first time. Scientists at King's College London have successfully grown human teeth for the first time in a lab. Um, Not just random teeth, but the teeth of a specific person to match their teeth. They used a patient's cells um, and regrew teeth that were designed for this person's mouth. Um, They recreated the conditions needed for early tooth development, allowing cells to accumulate and form teeth and offer a longer lasting biological compatible solution. Um, and now they are looking at this to become a possible future replacement for cavities and fillings and tooth loss. That they're testing two methods: implanting early stage tooth cells directly into the jaw to regrow full teeth, or growing full teeth in the lab before transplantation, which could potentially change dental care for the future. So this could literally be how our dental care goes in 20 years or 10 years or whatever, that they can literally take your cells and re-inject them into your mouth and regrow your teeth. It's just bonkers. So you heard it potentially here first. That's a thing. So in 20 years, when you're getting your teeth regrown, remember that one nerdy pastor that used to do a podcast? He told us about this. There you go. Um, uh, Apparently Tyler Joseph from 21 Pilots broke and slash dislocated his knee jumping off his piano in the concert, which he does. It's a frequent part of every show where Tyler will jump off the piano and Josh will do a backflip off the piano as part of the show. And apparently he hurt himself, but he's still been doing it, doing the show the same way and refuses to wear um the required medical gear during the concert because he doesn't want to finish the European tour in a boot or a brace because he's stubborn. Sesame Street and Bluey are doing a team up where Cookie Monster and the Sesame Street Muppets will be reading Bluey books as part of a read along on Sesame Street. Which, if anybody needs to hang out together, it's Bluey and Sesame Street. So, yeah. California, as a state, is suing the federal government to end tariffs because of the damage it's doing to their economy. Mm. And there's a recall on butter sold at Walmart. You might want to just look into this. If you've bought butter at Walmart anytime in the last couple weeks, there is a fecal contamination recall that apparently some butters sold at Walmart had fecal contamination, and you'll need to check your labels and the Walmart recalls for that information. Uh, Matt Strom, uh, a baseball player for the Phillies, um, was sporting a baseball glove this week that had the Declaration of Independence printed on the glove, which was just cool. But in a tweet slash X statement, whatever you call those, Matt Matt said, "I stole it and then made a glove of it." Um, so he stole the Declaration of Independence and then did that. Today, officially today, timing just out with WrestleMania season, Cody Rhodes and The Undertaker are available in Fortnite. So Cody Rhodes is one of the first playable characters to be not the first, but one of in the handful of firsts to be available to play with in Call of Duty and Fortnite and a wrestling game. So that's pretty, a little trifecta there for him as an entertainer. Uh, I spoke last week about a revival that was going across campus ministries, and this week it ended up at Baylor University. And at Baylor University, 5,000 students jammed into Foster Pavilion for a gospel presentation and a night of worship. Um, More than 250 students accepted Christ for the first time, and many were also baptized that night as well. But that's awesome to hear. And things I don't know that we need, but we'll see. Uh, Clueless is getting a sequel TV series with Peacock with Alicia Silverstone returning. Um, we are getting a Clueless sequel series with Alicia Silverstone at Peacock. This week, Kanye West made a tweet about the requirements for his funeral. I don't know about you, but I play in my funeral too. I've got three songs that are supposed to be at my funeral that are like listed. And if you ever like need to find this, I've got my funeral actually mapped out on Facebook. So if you type Hector Mirai and funeral on Facebook, I'm pretty sure you're going to pull up my funeral plans. But whatever. But Kanye West um, put out a tweet describing the requirements for his funeral. He says his funeral needs to be at least 1 week long. It says a 10-hour service every day so people can speak all the way through. It actually needs to be no limit. He says, embalm me, put me on display at my mama's house, and let people visit me. Charge people to come in and use the money to enrich all the blocks around his mama's house. So those are the requirements for Kanye West's inevitable funeral. Uh, yeah, a school bus flipped in Chester County, South Carolina, and blocked Interstate 77 traffic in both directions. No word on the number of kids injured based or anything like that, based on what I've seen, but it was just that the bus flipped. Um, Lucasfilm is doing Star Wars Celebration, and out of the Star Wars Celebration, one big announcement is that one film that will be coming in the future is Star Wars Starfighter, a brand new Star Wars entry all by itself, starring Ryan Gosling, and will be releasing in theaters on May 28th, 2027. And it will be directed by Sean Levy. So we are getting a Ryan Gosling helmed original Star Wars project. Sandman Season 2, Volume 1 will premiere on July 3rd and Volume 2 on July 24th. The series will be ending with this season amidst all the debacle that has gone on with Neil Gaiman. But we'll get an ending. There was a new Star Wars video game announced. Star Wars Zero Company is in development from Bit Reactor, with Lucasfilm Games, and Respawn. Pacific Rim, the kaiju slash mech sci-fi series, will be getting a TV development from Prime Video. Prime Video be swinging for some fences, man. They'll do The Life of David, but then also do like The Boys. and then they'll do like Warhammer and then Pacific Rim. But either way, um, there's a Pacific Rim series coming to Amazon. Daredevil season 2 will debut in March 2026. So we are less than a year away from Daredevil season 2 dropping. Season 1 has dropped all of its episodes for Daredevil Born Again. You can check that out on Disney Plus. Um, if you happen to find yourself in Crosby, Minnesota, and while in Crosby, Minnesota, you happen to find yourself scuba diving in uh, a state-owned mine pit known as Louise, um, you are in for a terrifying experience because there is a fully detailed, fully articulated, life-size statue of Jason Voorhees holding machete, wielding machete with his hockey mask on, chained to the bottom of this lake at about 120 feet deep. They had it commissioned and put at the bottom of the lake to be a surprise for any divers. So, if you're a horror fan, but also slightly into scuba diving, you should add this to your checklist of things to do. In things that we don't really need, there's a new series of beer flavored Pringles coming out. Because at no point did I ever open a can of Pringles and be like, yo, you know what this needs? Beer. Never. Okay. Um, Pringles and Miller Lite are coming up with two beer inspired flavors for their Pringles. There is grilled beer brat. So not only is it just not just beer flavored Pringles, that's beer and sausage flavored Pringles because that sounds magical. And then there's also beer can chicken. Guess where you grill uh chicken with a beer can inside it. I think that's a thing. But either way, those are coming. Enjoy those. I won't. Not gonna try those. Lil Wayne is officially saying that he will never perform at the Super Bowl now after being snubbed for the 2025 halftime show. Nate Bargatze is going to be set to host the 2025 Emmys, and with Nate being a clean comedian, um, that at least means that the jokes from the presenter will be clean. Little Nas X, the performer behind Old Town Road and a bunch of other stuff, has been hospitalized with facial paralysis similar to Bell's palsy. Um, and yep, so that is a thing. A new play has opened up this past week, um, based on the works of The Crucible. It's a Broadway play and it is starring Sadie Sink of Stranger Things fame. And the play is called John Proctor is the Villain. Um, much of the Stranger Things cast showed up to support Sadie Sink at her Broadway premiere, um, which is cool. Luigi Mangione is being indicted on 4 federal charges for the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. We know he's been arrested forever, but they're officially bringing him against 4 federal charges. Um, Chat GPT is working on developing its own social network to rival X/Twitter, um, uh, which is its own thing. Uh, this week, Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsley of The Office fame went to visit the set of the Office spinoff series, The Paper. Oscar Nunez, who is was a cast member on the original Office series, will be playing on the Office spinoff, The Paper. And they went to visit the set and see him on set this week and said it was a great reunion, and a lot of the same crew that made The Office are making The Paper, so it will have a similar vibe in how it's produced and done. Uh, in sad and upsetting news. In Nigeria on Palm Sunday, which was this past Sunday, um, 40 Christians were killed by Muslim gunmen uh, that attacked a Palm Sunday event. And also stated that the same group responsible for the murders have killed 113 Christians since March in Nigeria. That is bleak and sad. Um, and I don't know if I think this is too late for Tristan to be on, but I had curious on his commentary on this. Also, see there's been a wave of anti-Semitism in Australia, um, and specifically in the medical field, um, where it's actually being uh investigated that they are intentionally letting Israeli people not get proper care and are threatened with not proper care. There's a lot to unpack with that, but of all the places, I wouldn't think that that would be um, where that's at. Um, in Kenya, a man hung on to a helicopter that was taking off from a wedding because he was asking for money. Okay, Tristan, do you have you seen or heard anything like with this? Like, is that a thing like that you see in Australia? Because that is um wild to me. And that's, you know, yeah. Let me pull up that actual news article real quick. Um, but yeah, that's, you know, I get it. People suck everywhere, but I just thought that was a weird, uh, locationally specific situation. Do 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 do. Where's the Palm Sunday thing? But yeah, I just thought that was odd and like not something that I thought would be part of the culture or climate there. But then again, people kind of suck everywhere. Um, okay, so specifically, the details from this came from a video of a female declaring of a female in Australia declaring um, uh, to Israeli people that you will die the most disgusting death, um, and like in referring to patients in a hospital that she works at, and she says, "I refuse to treat them. I'll kill them all." Um, and it goes on for more. But it's apparently a hospital worker in Australia making these statements. It's just wild. We people suck. We need Jesus everywhere. Um, yeah. Um, and a unique way of yeah, yeah, not cool. In a unique way of anointing and blessing his congregation, a priest in the Philippines loaded a bug sprayer with holy water. Um, Tristan says that story was a little wild. Yeah. Um, a priest loaded a bug sprayer with holy water and misted his whole congregation as he walked down the aisles to bless them for Holy Week, um, which is, you know, one way to do it. Uh, uh, according to Google Maps, a new tower-like structure, not a new, but new to the discovery of, a tower-like structure uh, has been discovered on the edges of the property of what we know as Area 51. It's a triangular shaped tower, um, about 80 miles from Las Vegas. And it is on the property that is blocked off as Area 51, and it air quotes does not look like a human structure. Any structure cannot look like a human structure, but it was discovered on Google Maps, which, by the way, if the government's not stopping us from Google mapping or Google Earthing Area 51, I don't think they're doing their job, but whatever. Um, Singer D4VD, which I'm assuming is like a David pronunciation, had a nasty fall at Coachella as he tried to do a backflip off of a stage that was not bolted down properly, and he face planted hard in the middle of his song. But he got up eventually and continued his set and even did a couple more backflips. But if you are just a glutton for punishment and you want to see um, that face plant, it's there. Um, Mark Zuckerberg may be forced to sell uh, WhatsApp and Instagram based on an antitrust policy from the Federal Trade Commission, which is alleging that Zuckerberg bought both of these companies to remove his competitors. And if this goes forward, he'll be forced to sell them. Um, yeah, so that could be a change in the future. There is a 100-day train ride being offered as an around the world tour. That'll take you about 3 months and cost about $150,000. So if you're up for a 100-day train ride and you've got, a little less than quarter of a million, you can go see a lot of the world via train. Um, Chipotle's founder, Steve Ellis, has officially become a billionaire. Um, just off of his Chipotle stuff. So there you go. Congratulations, Steve, for overcharging everybody for shredded chicken. Um, again, I don't love to be political or anything, but one fun political note. Vice President J.D. Vance broke Ohio State's national championship on Monday while presenting it to the team. The Buckeyes defeated Notre Dame in a 34-23 in the National Football Championship. Um, And then JD Vance broke their trophy when trying to present it to them. So totally a thing. Two American college students are stranded in Denmark. Yes, two American college students are stranded in Denmark after they were arrested for canceling an Uber. They spent 2 weeks in jail um, for canceling an Uber on their spring break. Um, but they got in an altercation with their Uber driver after they canceled, and then they were arrested. And basically now they're stranded in Denmark. An American Airlines uh, flight was forced to make an emergency landing after a rabbit got sucked into the engine and created a fireball. And I'm like, my first thought when I read that was like, how did the rabbit get in the air? But it's not how that happened. But still, a rabbit got into the engine and blew up. So yeah, those are the news for this past week. And yeah, so past that, hey, good morning, Michael. Um, so we're gonna do our roll for initiative Bible reading, and what I did, um, rather than just doing the standard D20 roll, I've got 6 Easter passages, and we're going to roll to see which one of those. We're either going to do Isaiah 53, which is the prophetic account of Jesus' life, Matthew's version of the crucifixion, Mark's version of the crucifixion, Acts chapter 4, which is uh, the recount of Jesus before the Sanhedrin or Luke and John. So we're gonna go one of those reasons. So we're gonna keep it G and keep it Jesus for Easter. All right, so I've got my stone D6. This is made of Italian stone from Italy, and we're gonna see what we land on. So they're labeled 1 through 6, and then we'll see which passage we're gonna read. That is a V. That is a 5. So we are going to read Luke. Is that right? One, two, three, four, 5. Yes. We are going to read Luke 23. So move Nightcrawler up to her. There we go. Sweet. Get a highlighter. Better highlighter. Just when I think I'm prepared. Oh, I'm not. I'm thinking I had a cool highlighter I wanted to use. Yeah, that's its own special level of nerdy when you're disappointed because you can't find the your preferred highlighter. All right, we're gonna go with this guy. All right, Luke chapter 23. Down goes Nightcrawler. Luke 23. Then the whole assembly rose and led him off to Pilate. And they began accusing him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be a Messiah, a king." So Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," replied Pilate. Or you said so, Jesus replied. Then Pilate announced to the chief priests and the crowd, "I find no basis for charge against this man." Um, yeah, I'll go back to that. Verse 5 says, "But they insisted he stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." And here's the deal that I find so often and with Jesus and with anybody and with doing things in life is that people are fine. People are fine being stirred up when it benefits them, but when it becomes an inconvenience, it's a problem. Um, verse 6 says, "On hearing this, Pilate asked this if this man was a Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at the time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was greatly pleased because for a long time he had been wanting to see him. From what he had heard about him, he hoped to see him perform a sign of some sort. He piled, he plied him with many questions, but Jesus gave him no answer. The chief priests and the teachers of the law were standing there, vehemently accusing him. Then Herod and his soldiers ridiculed and mocked him. Dressing him in an elegant robe, they sent him back to Pilate. That day, Herod and Pilate became friends. Before this, they had been enemies. I don't know if I've ever known that or paid attention to that. That dealing with Jesus linked these two political powers, but also making a mockery of Jesus is part of what did it. Verse 13, Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people and said to them, You brought me this man as one who is inciting the people to rebellion. I have examined him in your presence and have found no basis for your charges against him. Neither has Herod, for he sent him back to us. As you can see, he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will punish him and release him. But the crowd shouted, Away with this man! Release Barabbas to us. Barabbas had been thrown into prison for insurrection in the city and for murder. People would rather have a murderer they can control than a savior that they can't. Murderer they can control than a savior they can't. Wanting to release Jesus, Pilate appealed to them again, but they kept shouting, Crucify him, crucify him. For the third time he spoke to them, What? Why? Why? What crime has he committed? I have found in him no grounds for death penalty. Therefore, I will have him punished and release him. He had to say that twice. But with the loud shouts and insistently they demanded that he be crucified, and their shouts prevailed. So Pilate decided to grant their demand. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, the one who they asked for, and surrendered Jesus to their will. As the soldiers led him away, they seized Simon the Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country, and put the cross on him and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large number of people followed him, including women who mourned and wailed for him. Jesus turned to them and said, Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, weep for yourselves and for your children. For the time will come when you will say, Blessed are the childless women in the wombs that never bore breasts and never nursed. Then they will say to the mountains, Fall on us, and into the hills cover us. Um, Verse 31 says, For if people do these things when the tree is green, what will happen when it is dry? Oof. Jesus says, if they do this stuff when I'm right here, what are they going to do when I'm gone? Two other men, both criminals, were led out with him to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there along with the criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. Jesus said, Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. And they divided up his clothes by casting lots. And that one statement gets me through a lot of things. Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Because even the most malicious, intentional actions of people, they don't really know the full scope or the dimensions or the damage they're doing by what they're doing. And I have to remember that Jesus' attitude towards them and towards me and towards others is one of forgiveness. Verse 35, the people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, He saved others, let him save himself. If he is God's Messiah, the chosen one. The soldiers also came up mocking him, or mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar and said, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was a written notice above him which read, This is the king of the Jews. One of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God, since you are under the same sentence? This guy, he gets it. Um, we are punished justly. We are getting what our deeds deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And the verse that gives us all hope, Jesus answered, Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Verse 44. It was now about noon. The darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, for the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. When he had said this, he breathed his last. The centurion, seeing what had happened, praised God and said, Surely this was a righteous man. When all the people who had gathered to witness this saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. But all those who knew him, including the women who followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. Now there was a man named Joseph, a member of the council, a good and upright man who had not consented to their decision or and action. He came from Judea down to Arimathea, and he himself was waiting for the kingdom of God. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body. Then he took it down, wrapped it in linen cloth, and placed it in the tomb cut in the rock, which no one had yet been laid. It was preparation day, and the Sabbath was about to begin. Women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph to the tomb and saw how his body was laid in it. Then they went home and prepared spices and perfumes, but they rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment. So, gearing up for Easter, for Good Friday, and all the things. Hope that's a just a good mind check, spirit check, heart check for things. We'll be doing a Good Friday service tonight at my church or with my church, and looking forward to that. And then Easter is Sunday. Um, so going on ahead, I'll let you know some stuff that's coming up. Uh, I am 2 shakes away from being done with my portion of book 10. I'm formatting the last chapter that I'm writing. I have one more guest chapter we're dropping in that's already done, and then we're on to editing. So that's coming. Um, Also in progress on a new children's book. And once I'm done with the process of getting book 10 ready to go, there will be another bite size that's coming. And that's another just transcribing and editing on that one. Like it's the content's there, we just got to polish it. Um, but before we go, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. Oh no, I'm not logged out of my Patreon. When does that happen? Um, there we go. Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin Winston, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, and Rebecca Godlove and Adam Davis. Thank you all for being as supportive and encouraging as you are. And I hope y'all have a uh what's the right word? I hope you have a reflective but hopeful Good Friday, and I hope you have a joyous and celebratory Easter, and that it's filled with encouragement and family and the appropriate amount of chocolate and jelly beans. Um, we have things to celebrate, and I'm grateful for all of you for the encouragement you bring, and hope that your walk with Jesus brings you closer. And I hope that you all have a great day, and I will see you very soon. Bye, y'all.